Let's welcome in our buddy Michael Bradden, that SEC podcast, the best SEC podcast out there, in my humble opinion. Mike, what's going on in Knoxville, man? In your opinion, why did this play out like it did for Josh Heupel, Nico, and the rest of the Tennessee football program?
Well, Ty, let me just put it this way. I'm glad I never learned how to say his name because it's not worth saying anymore. You know what?
Oh, man. But little background, Mike is a Tennessee fan, looks at the SEC from an unbiased and objective perspective, and unless it occasionally comes to talking about his Tennessee Volunteers. Is this like a DJU? I mean, Nico, I know he was heralded coming out of high school, Mike, but I mean, he lost in Fayetteville last year. He didn't do anything that game. He really didn't do anything for the most of SEC play outside of Vanderbilt. I mean, are we just in another DJU situation where maybe his stars are more than what he actually does on the field?
Well, I wouldn't quite go that far, Ty, because, again, they were really going to put him at the forefront of the offense this year. I mean, as far as Tennessee goes on offense was going to be because of Nico. And I think because of his status being a five-star, because of the NIL, I think the expectations for him going into his first year last year was just a little too high. And, yeah, you can look at the statistics. The statistics were nothing impressive, and everything you said about the Arkansas game is true. I mean, you're the one that last told me, hey, he had a guy wide open there, could have won the game, he ran out of bounds.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm not sitting here saying he was some elite quarterback, but he was not as bad as the numbers indicate when you have a top 3 SEC defense and probably the best running back in the conference. You'd be foolish to just be throwing it all over the yard. You know, I mean, they got to the playoffs playing defense and running the football, so that's in large part why his statistics were not as impressive as some of these elite quarterbacks. But at the end of the day, I think his camp thought he was worth more, as we've seen the market for what these players are worth go up.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, he's been paid about $5 million for 2 seasons, one of which he just sat on the bench as a true freshman. I would have looked at it and said, man, we've made $5 million. So we're making a killing. I get asking for more, but Tennessee said no in December. And with the spring portal window coming up, I mean, this was a negotiation tactic, and Tennessee called the bluff. And once so for those that don't know, he just completely no-showed on Friday. They had practice before the spring game. No one could get a hold of him. And basically, he lost the team at that point. So I think he kind of forced the hand of Josh Heupel, and Heupel decided to move on from him.
So I think as Arkansas fans are maybe hearing this story for the first time, or they're still kind of trying to process what occurred in Knoxville over the weekend. Is this something a fan base like Arkansas, other fan bases across college football can be concerned with? We've seen it happen in the National Football League and NBA and MLB. I mean, is this going to be more prevalent in college football and other college sports, in your opinion, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. And I think Arkansas fans know all too well. I mean, that's, Lane Kiffin will let you know if you didn't. You got some of your guys, and I'm sure I've heard St. Pippin say, we've had guys that thought they were worth X. We said, you're not worth near as much as that. And if you think you can go get it, because you're not going to get that here. And that's what college sports is now. And we're seeing it not just in football, but of course, basketball, baseball, all the sports, really. Even it's filtered down to women's basketball, to where people are they got their hand out. And there's good in that, there's bad in that, but it's complete chaos because there's no rules on leaving. So this was going to happen somewhere. I'm just devastated is too strong a word, but disappointed that it happened on Rocky Top.
I think it's safe to say, Mike, that Madden, Nico's little brother here, is not going to be made for media availability this week based on what happened. I do think that dynamic is interesting, though, as we bring it back to Fayetteville. I mean, I'm going to guess, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to guess teammates of his are asking him about it. I don't know if a coach is necessarily doing that same thing, but it's got to be a little weird for Madden here in Fayetteville, doesn't it?
It does, and I've never seen this. I'm not like reporting this or anything, but I wouldn't, quite frankly, be stunned if old Nico doesn't end up at Arkansas. How about that? Because
you're throwing that out there.
Oh, I'm serious. Because everybody highlights this SEC rule where you do have to sit out if you go from SEC to SEC school at this point in time. He's not going to come in there and try to take. He literally can't take Taylor Green's job, but I think he's tanked his stock in terms of his value. And there's just not a lot of suitors right now because we're so late in the process. Had he done this in December, he would have probably got his $4 million, and he probably would have went to Miami or Oregon or somewhere like that, and he would have got paid. But I honestly, we're seeing. I don't know if you've seen this, but Deion Sanders came out and said, "Oh, we're good." That was one of the rumored destinations.
Yeah.
I don't know who's taking Nico, and what better place than to chill with your brother for a year and maybe battle it out for the Arkansas starting job in 2026.
So, Mike, I want to clarify something that you said. In the spring portal, as I understand it, you can't transfer to an SEC school without, as you said, sitting out a year. Is that right? Like, if you transfer to an inter-SEC school in the spring, you got to sit out. But outside the SEC, you don't, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
So you have to be in the portal, in the transfer portal by February 1st if you want to go from an SEC school to an SEC school and play immediately. Otherwise, you have to sit out, kind of like the old school transfers.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. And the portal opens up on Wednesday. We've already seen how crazy the basketball portal's been. I saw a report from 24/7 Sports, Travis Branham, that apparently there's I think it was 8 schools that have $10+ million in basketball NIL. And I don't even want to know what it is for football, but it's crazy. Michael Bratton is with us here this morning. SEC Mike is his nickname. That SEC podcast does a fantastic job covering the league. You see him on Feinbaum and definitely see him and Cousin Shane on YouTube and everywhere else. Mike, where does Nico, with the Arkansas thing, what are some other potential destinations? I don't know if the Arkansas thing is more tongue-in-cheek, but where could you actually see him winding up if outside of Knoxville?
Yeah, the 3 kind of most popular rumors would be North Carolina, Bill Belichick. They have a quarterback, Matt Johnson. He used to be at LSU and Texas A&M, but he got hurt, so they're looking for a quarterback. Texas Tech, now Nico seems very motivated by money, and as we all are, but Texas Tech, for those that haven't been paying attention, they have literally billionaire boosters funding the basketball and football programs. If they want to make a splash, they are apparently all in on this season, trying to get to the college football playoff. They have one of the best portal classes in the country because they are spending like there's no tomorrow. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And then the only other one that I've heard is UCLA. But, of course, his brother Madden was committed and then decommitted. So I don't know how the UCLA staff feels about that family, but I couldn't imagine that that they're fired up to get back into this mess, because it kind of is a mess. With the father is apparently the one that's kind of let all this that happened at Tennessee.
And that was my next question. It seems like that was where I was going to go. Is his dad the one kind of spearheading this? Is he the one that's leading this charge? Not necessarily Nico or his agent, but his dad that's kind of pushing the envelope?
Yeah, and that's another added layer to all this. He doesn't really have an agent. He's got his dad, and then there's this guy, his name's Cordell Landers, who he worked for Dan Mullen at Florida in the recruiting department and got fired shortly after being there. That's his representation. So you kind of see why this is such a train wreck. He's just got unqualified people managing his status and just thinking he's worth a lot more than he is.
Wow. Well, that's a crazy story that happened over the weekend. I know we were consumed with what was going on with Arkansas baseball, also what was happening in Augusta, Georgia. I think Tennessee beat Ole Miss this weekend in baseball, didn't they, Mike?
Yeah, they won the series.
Yeah, they took 2 games. I know you were watching that a little bit. Well, Mike, we appreciate you jumping on with us this morning, man. Good stuff, and I guess we'll see what happens with Tennessee's quarterback situation. It sounds like they're going to try and pluck someone out of the portal, right? Is that my understanding?
Yeah, they have to, because they got a true freshman who's pretty talented, and then they got the other guy's thrown 6 passes in his career. So that's what the quarterback room looks like. So I'd say it's a good bet that Arkansas extends the series to 5 over Tennessee. I mean, I'm just preparing myself for
Well, I'll be there in Knoxville. I can't wait. I hope that's the case in Neyland Stadium early on. I think it's the second weekend of October. Mike, good stuff, man. Appreciate you joining us this morning. I know you got a busy week ahead, so thanks for your time.
it. Anytime. Thanks for having me, guys.